Dork Majesty.
But also deception and madness. Meet Keisha, a woman on the brink unemployed, facing eviction and grappling with the weight of life's struggles. But when an ornate antique mirror unexpectedly appears at her doorstep, it becomes clear that this is no ordinary reflection. What secrets lie within the gilded frame? What horrors are waiting to surface? Sit back, relax, and let the story unfold, if you dare. The Mirror's Reflection by Kia Reed. Keisha sat at her wobbly kitchen table, the eviction notice crumpled in one hand, a cold cup of instant coffee in the other.
Final notice,
She muttered bitterly, reading the bold red text. It wasn't fair. She had worked tirelessly at the pet food factory, managing the chaos on the production floor. But when the layoffs came, loyalty hadn't mattered. A loud knock at the door broke her spiraling thoughts. Standing on the threshold was a delivery man with a clipboard and a large wooden crate behind him.
Keisha Jacobs?
Yeah?
Sign here.
Keisha scribbled her signature, staring at the crate as the man wheeled it into her apartment.
What is this?
She asked.
Don't know, lady. Just delivering.
After he left, she spotted the sender's name on the box, Margaret Liddell.
Who the hell is Margaret Little?
Inside the crate was the most elaborate antique mirror she'd ever seen. Its gilded frame was carved with grotesque, twisting figures that seemed alive in the dim light. Keisha shivered as she traced the inscription at the bottom. The truth will set you free. She placed it in her bedroom, its opulence standing out against her shabby furniture. Despite its beauty, a faint unease prickled at her. As she turned away, the mirror caught the light. For a brief moment, she thought she saw movement, her reflection flickering just slightly out of sync. Over the next few days, Keisha noticed small oddities. The apartment in the mirror looked darker, its walls cracked and stained. Her reflection sometimes moved slower than she did, her expressions not quite matching. One evening, as she brushed her teeth, her reflection froze mid-motion, staring back at her with wide, unblinking eyes.
Okay,
She muttered, gripping the sink.
I'm officially losing it.
She laughed nervously, but when she looked back, her reflection smiled a wide, malicious grin. Late that night, Keisha was jolted awake by a faint whisper. She sat up, her heart racing. The mirror glowed faintly in the dark.
Hello?
She called out, her voice shaky. Her reflection stepped closer to the glass, though Keisha hadn't moved. Its eyes glowed crimson.
You don't belong here.
It whispered, its voice low and echoing.
You're in danger.
Keisha gasped, scrambling out of bed. The reflection's grin widened.
I'm here to save the world.
The reflection's voice grew louder and more insistent over the next few days, mocking her and issuing command. Keisha's mind spiraled as reality began to warp. The cracks in the mirror's reflection appeared in her actual apartment, spreading like veins across the walls. One evening, the reflection demanded,
Call her. Call your sister. Apologize for what you have done.
Keisha hesitated, trembling as she picked up her phone.
Tasha?
She said when her sister answered. There was a long pause on the other end.
Keisha, what do you want?
Tasha's voice was cold, distant. Keisha swallowed hard.
I wanted to say I'm sorry.
For what?
Tasha asked sharply.
For disappearing for weeks? For never being there for anyone but yourself?
Keisha's throat tightened.
That's not true.
The reflection hissed from the mirror. Keisha glanced at it, her breath catching. Her reflection mouthed Tasha's words in perfect sync.
You're always making excuses.
Tasha continued, her voice rising.
You think saying sorry fixes everything?
Keisha clenched her fists. The room felt like it was closing in on her, the mirror's whisper growing louder.
You don't understand.
Keisha snapped.
What is wrong with you?
Tasha asked, her tone turning fearful.
Keisha, are you okay? You're scaring me.
The call ended abruptly, leaving Keisha staring at the phone in her hand, trembling. In the mirror, her reflection laughed silently. The cracks in Keisha's apartment spread further. Shadows flickered in the corners of the room, even when no light source should have created them. Her landlord, Mr. Halston, stopped by after she missed her second rent payment. Mr. Halston was in his mid-50s, a gruff man with a thick mustache and a penchant for cigars. He'd owned the building for decades and prided himself on knowing his tenants. Knocking on her door, he called out,
Keisha, you in there?
No response. He frowned, digging out his spare key. The apartment was quiet, eerily so. He noticed the cracks in the walls, the faint smell of mildew. His eyes fell on the massive mirror in the bedroom.
Damn thing's probably worth a fortune.
He muttered, running his fingers over the gilded frame. He swore he saw his own reflection move, even though he hadn't. Shaking his head, he left a note on the counter. Call me about the rent. Desperate for answers, Keisha searched the mirror's frame and found a hidden compartment. Inside was a crumbling journal. The entries were erratic, filled with scrawled warnings. The mirror shows the truth. You can't escape it. One entry chilled her to the core. It will consume you. You are the danger. Keisha grabbed a hammer, determined to destroy the mirror. She swung with all her strength, but the glass rippled like water. Cracks exploded across the room, the walls shuddering. The reflection emerged, its glowing eyes piercing the darkness.
You can't get rid of me.
It hissed. Days turned into weeks. Keisha stopped answering calls, and her mail piled up. Mr. Halston finally entered the apartment again. It looked abandoned, but the mirror remained, its surface spotless despite the room's decay. Keisha's faint reflection flickered within, her face twisted in silent horror.
Guess she skipped town.
Mr. Halston muttered. Months later, a young couple moved in. Sarah admired the mirror immediately.
It's beautiful,
She said, tracing the intricate carvings. That night, Sarah woke to faint whispers. The mirror gleamed in the moonlight, and for a brief moment, she thought she saw a figure inside. In the reflection, Keisha watched, her silent screams lost in the void. The cycle had begun again. Thank you for joining me for the mirror's reflection. In the world of Wicked Majesty Night Stories, mirrors don't just reflect what we see, they reveal the truths we fear most. If this tale left you captivated or chilled, don't forget to like this video, share with fellow horror enthusiasts, and subscribe to Wicked Majesty Night Stories. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Twitter for even more haunting content, and join me on Ko-Fi and Patreon for exclusive behind-the-scenes looks and early access to my work. Until next time, be careful what you see staring back at you in the dark. Good night.
Wicked majesty, a mournful sign.
Until next time, sleep tight, don't let the shadows bite.